The rain started just after 11:30 p.m., turning the quiet Asheville roads into slick ribbons of pavement. Olivia Reed, a 22-year-old college senior, pulled up the hood of her jacket as she stepped outside her best friend Megan Turner's apartment. "Are you sure you don't want to stay the night?" Megan asked, concern flickering in her eyes. Olivia smiled. "I'm good. It's only a 20-minute drive. I'll text you when I get home." She climbed into her silver Toyota Corolla, turned on the defroster, and pulled onto the road. At 11:43 p.m., as she neared the lonely stretch of Route 19, she sent a quick text to her roommate, Haley Carter. "Almost home." That was the last time anyone heard from Olivia Reed. By 12:15 a.m., Haley had expected to hear the usual sound of Olivia's keys jangling at the door. When silence stretched longer than usual, she checked her phone. No response. 12:30 a.m., Haley sent another text. "You good?" 10 a.m., straight to voicemail. Her calls weren't even ringing anymore. At 7 a.m., as the morning sun pushed through the fog, a commuter spotted something strange on the side of Route 19. A silver Toyota Corolla, its hazard lights blinking in the dim light. The driver's side door was open. The engine was still running. A single white sneaker lay in the wet grass beside the road. But Olivia was gone. By the time police arrived, the scene felt eerily untouched. There were no skid marks, no signs of an accident, no blood. Olivia's wallet and phone were still inside the car, resting in the center console. The driver's seatbelt was unbuckled, as if she had stepped out voluntarily. The strangest detail? Her phone had been wiped clean. No texts, no call history, no GPS records. Standing on the roadside, watching the rain wash over the silent highway, one officer muttered what they were all thinking. The investigation into Olivia Reed's disappearance began immediately. Officers combed through the scene, searching for any sign of a struggle or a clue to where she had gone, but the longer they looked, the stranger things became. The white sneaker found near the road was confirmed to be Olivia's. It was damp from the rain, lying just beyond the shoulder, as if she had been running, but there were no footprints leading away from it. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. Inside her silver Toyota Corolla, investigators found her phone, purse, and keys. Nothing had been stolen. No sign of a robbery, no shattered glass. The car had been in perfect condition, aside from the driver's door hanging open, swaying slightly in the wind. When police accessed Olivia's phone, they discovered something chilling. Everything had been erased. There were no text messages, no call logs, no GPS data, as if someone had wiped it clean. The last person Olivia had contacted, her roommate Haley Carter, had received a text at 11:43 p.m. saying, "Almost home." That message was gone. Detectives were baffled. Who would go through the trouble of erasing Olivia's digital footprint, and more importantly, why? They turned to security footage from the roads leading to Route 19. The closest camera, located near a gas station 5 miles away, provided a disturbing lead. At 11:50 p.m., Olivia's car was seen pulling into the station. She stepped out, filled her gas tank, and walked inside to buy a bottle of water. Everything seemed normal. Until 11:52 p.m. A man in a dark hoodie entered the store behind her. He didn't buy anything, he didn't speak to anyone. He just stood near the doorway, watching. At 11:54 p.m., Olivia left the gas station, got into her car, and drove away. The man followed, disappearing into the night. Detectives immediately tried to enhance the footage, to get a clearer view of the man's face, but when they pulled up the files again, the footage was corrupted. Glitches covered the screen, the frames where the man had been standing completely distorted. It was as if someone didn't want him to be found. Sheriff Daniel Mercer had seen his share of missing person cases in his 20 years on the force, but something about Olivia Reed's disappearance unsettled him. Cases like this, where a person seemingly vanished into thin air, didn't happen often. And when they did, there was usually some sort of explanation. This time, there was none. The gas station footage was their only lead, and it had left them with more questions than answers. The man in the dark hoodie had entered the store at 11:52 p.m., just minutes after Olivia. He didn't buy anything. He didn't talk to anyone. He just stood near the entrance, keeping his head low, his face obscured by the hood. At 11:54 p.m., Olivia walked out, unaware of the silent figure following her into the night. By midnight, her car was found abandoned 5 miles away. The sheriff's office tried to enhance the footage to get a better look at the man's face, but the files had been mysteriously corrupted. It was almost as if someone had tampered with them. "Someone doesn't want us to see him," Mercer muttered, staring at the scrambled frames on his monitor. Investigators interviewed the gas station clerk, a college kid named Jake Hansen. "I barely noticed him," Jake admitted, rubbing his hands together. "He just stood there. He gave me the creeps, though." "Did he say anything?" the sheriff pressed. Jake hesitated. "Not to me, but when Olivia walked past him, I swear I saw him mutter something. But she didn't react. Either she didn't hear him or she was ignoring him." "What did he say?" Jake shook his head. "I don't know, but he was smiling." The word sent a chill through the sheriff. Smiling? Why would a stranger be smiling while watching a woman walk to her car? The investigation deepened when police canvassed the area near the gas station. A diner across the street had an outdoor security camera facing the lot. Hoping for a clearer shot of the man, Mercer had the footage pulled. But when the file loaded, the camera showed Olivia walking out to her car, alone. By the third day of Olivia Reed's disappearance, the town of Asheville was buzzing with rumors. Some believed she had been kidnapped. Others whispered about something more sinister, something unnatural. Sheriff Daniel Mercer wasn't one for ghost stories, but the evidence was painting a disturbing picture. The gas station security footage showed a man following Olivia, yet the diner's camera, pointed in the same direction, showed nothing. It was like the man had been erased from reality. And then, on the morning of day 4, a call came in. It was from Olivia's phone. Her roommate, Haley Carter, jolted awake at 3:12 a.m. to the sound of her ringtone. Disoriented, she fumbled for the phone, barely processing what she was seeing. "Incoming call, Olivia." Her heart pounded. Without thinking, she answered, "Olivia?" Silence. The line was open, but no one spoke. Haley's breathing grew ragged. "Liv, is that you? Where are you? Say something." A faint noise crackled through the speaker. Static. Then, in a voice so distorted it barely sounded human, she heard a whisper. "Help me." Haley's blood ran cold. "Olivia, where are you? I'll come get you. Just tell me where you are." The static grew louder. The voice, if it was Olivia, sounded far away, distant, like it was coming from a place it shouldn't. Then, the call ended. Haley immediately dialed back, straight to voicemail. Panicked, she ran to the sheriff's office, bursting through the doors before sunrise. "She called me! Olivia called me!" she told Mercer, her voice trembling. Mercer immediately contacted the phone company, demanding a trace on the call's origin. Minutes later, the results came back. The call had originated from Olivia's phone, the same phone that was still locked in the evidence room at the sheriff's station. The room just down the hall. The room that no one had entered all night. Sheriff Mercer's stomach twisted. He had a missing girl, an erased digital footprint, a man who didn't exist, and now a phone call that shouldn't have been possible. Something was very wrong. And Olivia Reed was still out there. Somewhere, the eerie phone call sent chills through the entire investigation. Sheriff Daniel Mercer and his team were now chasing a case that felt less like a disappearance and more like a ghost story. But Mercer wasn't the type to believe in the supernatural. He wanted answers. And they finally got one. The phone trace had shown something disturbing. Even though the call had technically come from Olivia's phone, the trace indicated a secondary location. A point deep in the Pisgah National Forest, about 12 miles from where her car was found. There was nothing out there except miles of thick woods. And one abandoned cabin. By 9 a.m., Mercer and his team were heading into the forest, pushing their way through the overgrown trails that led to the location. The deeper they went, the more unnatural the silence became. There were no birds, no rustling leaves. Even the wind seemed afraid to move. After an hour of searching, they found it. The cabin was old, Rotting wood, broken windows, a collapsed porch. It had been abandoned for years, yet Mercer's instincts told him someone had been here recently. His deputy, Lauren Tate, pointed at the door. "Sheriff?" The wood was scratched. Deep, jagged gashes, as if someone had clawed at it from the inside. Mercer's grip tightened on his gun. "We're going in." The air inside the cabin was thick with dust and decay. The floor creaked with every step as they moved cautiously through the darkness. Then they saw it. In the center of the room, nailed to the wall, was a Polaroid picture. Olivia Reed. The photo showed her standing in the exact same cabin, her face pale, her expression vacant. And she wasn't alone. Beside her, barely visible in the shadows, was the figure of a man in a dark hoodie. His face was blurred. The air in the room seemed to close in around them. Then, from somewhere deeper inside the cabin, came a sound. A footstep. They weren't alone. Sheriff Daniel Mercer and his team stood frozen inside the abandoned cabin, staring at the Polaroid nailed to the wall. Olivia Reed was in this cabin. And she wasn't alone. The shadowy man in the dark hoodie beside her sent a chill down Mercer's spine. His face was blurred, distorted, as if the camera refused to capture him. Then, from deeper inside the cabin, a footstep. Mercer spun, gun raised. Deputy Lauren Tate gripped her flashlight, her knuckles white. "Who's there?" Mercer barked. Silence. The tension was suffocating. The walls of the cabin seemed to close in, as if something unseen was watching from the darkness. Then, another sound, a whisper. It was faint, almost swallowed by the silence, but Mercer heard it. A woman's voice. "Help me." The voice was coming from a trap door in the floor. Tate yanked it open, revealing a narrow staircase leading underground. A damp, musty scent wafted up, a mix of dirt, mold, and something rotten. They descended carefully, flashlights cutting through the oppressive darkness. At the bottom they found a crude underground room, its walls made of packed earth. A single, flickering candle illuminated the space. And in the corner, Olivia Reed. She sat huddled, arms wrapped around her knees, her face pale and gaunt. Her clothes were dirty, her eyes hollow, but she was alive. Tate rushed forward, dropping to her knees. "Olivia, we're here. You're safe now." Olivia's lips parted, but no words came out. Her hands were trembling. She shook her head as if trying to warn them. Then Mercer's flashlight flickered, and the air shifted. A deep, low exhale echoed through the underground chamber. Mercer turned. A tall, dark figure stood in the shadows. Not a man, not a person. Something else. Its face was an empty void. The candle snuffed out, and the darkness swallowed them whole.